All right.
Hello, this is Anna Pacheco, and today my guest is Valerie Uselman, and she is going to tell us all about the real estate industry in San Juan County, primarily the Farmington Aztec area. Valerie, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes, you do.
Oh, good. Well, I don't know a thing. Santa Fe is my hometown. I don't know anything about your area. And so a lot of people are looking at New Mexico. They're wanting to get out of the coastal cities, or they're able to work remotely now. Santa Fe, of course, is internationally known, and we're having a huge a problem with inventory right now. So I thought it'd be a good idea to let our viewers know about the other 33 counties of New Mexico and what they might have to offer. So, let's just start with, tell me how long you've been selling real estate in the Farmington area.
So I have been in real estate. I'm a few days shy of being 17 years in the business.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, and I also am a native Farmingtonian. I was born here. I won't give you the year, but I was born here and have been here all my life, except for the time I've been away to college. So I've spent many years in this area. I feel like I do know it well, and there was a time when I really thought that I wanted to live elsewhere, but as I grow older, I do realize that it truly has not only charm. I think Northwest New Mexico is undiscovered for the most part. Of course, there's a lot of focus, as you say, on Santa Fe. Albuquerque's very nice. Las Cruces is nice. We have a beautiful state, but I think the Northwest quadrant is largely undiscovered and unknown. And I'm here to share with everyone that there are many jewels about this part of the state. Number one, the climate. Well, it's very similar to Santa Fe and Albuquerque. Santa Fe's in the mountains. Our elevation here is about 5,300 feet. So we have a little bit of heat in the summer, not really cold in the winter. So the climate is very, very nice. And our proximity to many desired destinations is amazing. We're close to, of course, Monument Valley, Lake Powell. Telluride is a couple of hours away. Moab is 2.5 to 3 hours away. Chaco Canyon is world renowned. There are just many, many, many sights to see and things to do in this area. And right now, the real estate is very reasonable, but I don't expect it to stay that way very long.
So when you say reasonable, what is the median cost of a house right now in the Farmington area?
It's around 190, 195, which compared to Santa Fe, I know is amazing.
You can't get an outhouse in Santa Fe for $200,000. Yeah. Well, let me just ask you, I know here in Santa Fe, northern New Mexico, particularly some of the older homes, they're Adobe structured. Is a lot of the houses in your area, are they Adobe, or do you have like frame houses, or what's the norm there for the most part?
There might be a couple of Adobe homes. One that I'm aware of was built back in the late 1800s. And it's been here for a long time. The only other one that I'm aware of, I just recently closed on this year, but really authentic Adobe homes, there's not a lot of that up here. Mostly they are frame.
And I wonder why. I mean, is that did all that, I mean, way back in the old days, that was basically poor man's housing. Everybody had Adobe houses. Did that just, as time went on, they just kind of fell apart, and just people thought that it would be more economical just to do frame housing? Or
I think so. I think that's probably it. as you know, you being a historian, a lot of the culture fed the Adobe structures in your area. Up here, things were not settled like they were in Santa Fe. So most of the area was agricultural. It began as agricultural, and through the years, in the early 50s, the oil and gas industry took off, and it really has been a mainstay for the area for all of these years until probably just the last few. We do have a couple of coal-fired generating stations up here, P&M and APS. Both of them are scheduled to be shut down by the year 2022. And oil and gas, because of the permitting, the difficulty to permit up here as opposed to in the southeast part of the state where a lot of the land is held privately, the permitting is difficult up here because it's a lot of, there's a lot of reservation and BLM. So that makes it difficult to drill. So that's kind of gone away. Plus the gas market is not, it's not been great for a while either. So, so yeah, I think that, when this area was established, people began to build stick homes, and that's primarily still the case. My husband is a contractor, so I feel like quite a bit about what's going on in the area. But I think that there is so much opportunity up here. We're trying to reinvent ourselves in this area, pull away from the extractive industry and our industries, and establish ourselves as a wonderful place for retirees.
And I know that in your area, well, just maybe you can, in other areas rather, there's been a lot of remote, people are working remotely. So people are moving to other parts of the state. Are you seeing that in the Farmington area? Are people moving from other places because they're not necessarily concerned about trying to find a job when they get to Farmington? Have you found that to be true?
We are slowly beginning to see that, I believe. Our market actually, we are like you in Santa Fe. Our market, the inventory is in tremendous decline. And I really don't know if that is attributable to people pausing because of COVID, but regardless of the inventory being down, we still have incredible activity in almost all segments of the market, And I truly do believe that there are people, especially from Southern Colorado, who find it, Durango is a wonderful place to live also, but the real estate there is also high. So I think that we're seeing a lot of Southwest Colorado people look for more affordable homes and real estate in New Mexico. And we're not that far, 30, 40 minutes, it's a very reasonable commute. So
Durango.
Durango, yes.
Okay. And when you mentioned that you're seeing activity in all segments, what does that mean, segments?
Well, you take a price point, 100 to 200,000, maybe two, and that used to be where most of the activity was, maybe the last couple years, but in the last 6 to 8 months, we've seen incredible activity in the 200 to 300,000 range, and even above 300 to 455, which for us around here is an upper end market. So we're definitely seeing movement.
And then you're trying to, I guess, market yourselves for retirees right now. What about demographics? Are you seeing younger people moving in with children? Because I know here in Santa Fe, because we've been known for probably half a century as a retirement community, it's so much, it's so heartening when I see younger families moving in with children, because the vibrancy of that is that's what keeps the city going. Are you seeing younger people moving in, or I mean, it's great to have retirees, but are you
Yes,
seeing?
retirees. I mean, you have to count on retirees to try to, sustain your market and your economy. There are a lot of young people in this town, because we're not known yet as a retirement community. There are a lot of young people, and um, all of the oil and gas uh, large companies like ConocoPhillips, Exterran, Williams, and all of the service companies have pulled out of the area. And so we have lost many jobs, but we still have our hospital, which is fabulous. We have a wonderful community college, San Juan College. And there are still some jobs at at P&M. Those, as I say, are dwindling. However, there is a company who, I believe they have just closed on purchasing, maybe not closed, but they are getting ready to close on purchasing the plant. Now, I do know that, for the most part, trying to sustain that plant, keeping it coal-fired is out of the question, because most of the focus now is, everyone wants to stay green and protect the environment. So I think what they're doing is trying to bring in another energy source to keep the plant going for a while. And I also know that there is discussion about carbon sequestration, which is capturing the carbon out of the process at the plant and then piping it to fields where they drill. It's my understanding is that it's good to for fracking. So anyway, there are some efforts to try to keep that plant going, and it was a huge employer for many, many, many years. But yeah, as far as young families, we see a lot of young families. Absolutely.
Well, if you're originally from Farmington, you've gone through how many boom and bust cycles? Because that's what the oil and gas industry always is.
Always does. Yes. I would say I can remember my father was partner in 2 radio stations up here, and I can remember his talking about how difficult it was several times in my youth. So that was at least 2 or 3 times. I would say probably 4 or 5 times that, there have been boom or bust cycles.
No, that's the thing. Well, I'm surprised that real estate is so reasonable there, because usually I know that in the southeast part of the state, it's real expensive to live there and it's because of the oil and gas, the people that, all these people.
Exactly.
So how have you been able to maintain moderate home prices?
Well, as I say, I think that we are yet undiscovered, and we haven't really seen an influx yet of, home buyers to drive those prices up. And I think it will probably remain. I think real estate will probably remain reasonable, maybe for the next year or two. But I really do believe that it will, at some point, catch fire. We have, as most of New Mexico has, over 300 days on average of sun. The climate is moderate. We have proximity here to wonderful things to do, recreation, enthusiasts, sightseeing. It's just truly a wonderful part of the state.
And if you're not far from Durango, then you're close to an airport, correct?
Correct. That is correct.
And then tell me a little bit about Aztec. You're what, 30 miles from Aztec, or how far are Aztec?
We're if you go to the east end of Farmington, it's 11 miles to the city limits of Aztec. So 10, 15 minutes.
And what do you sell real estate in Aztec as well?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, licensed in the entire state actually, but yeah, And the, you know, the market in Aztec is, it's kind of a bedroom community. So the real estate prices are actually more reasonable, much more reasonable. Well, I shouldn't say much more reasonable, but they are, um, there's a difference in pricing between the market in Aztec and here. But I expect that to change within a year or two as well, because Aztec especially is seeing movement from Colorado to Aztec, because there it's only like maybe a 20 to 25 mile drive to Durango. And of course, from Aztec north to the border, there's a lot of rural area where people are buying as well.
And what is the medium cost of a house in Aztec right now?
I believe it's around 185, 180, 185. So there is a difference. And there is also a community called Bloomfield, which is south of Aztec, which is probably not as desirable as Aztec. They had a lot of, there was a refinery there years ago. I think it still operates to some extent also. And then to the west of Farmington is a little community called Kirtland, which was settled by the Mormons back in the early 90s. And it was mainly agricultural as well. But I expect there to be growth on the west side of Farmington as well. So,
And how far are you from Chaco Canyon? I mean, because for our listeners, the area that we're talking about now, it's the only area in the country where 4 states meet, which is, so it's called the Four Corners area. It's New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona. How
right.
far are you from the famed Chaco Canyon?
Well, Chaco Canyon actually is southeast of Farmington. You can access it off of 550, about halfway between here and Cuba. But Four Corners is actually northeast of Farmington, probably, excuse me, northwest of Farmington, probably more west, but you can drive an hour and a half and be there. So you're right. It's a special place. It's the only place.
And for our listeners, there's 19 Indian Pueblos in New Mexico. We're the only state in the Union with 19 distinct Indian Pueblos, and it is believed that the Pueblo Indians are descendants of the Anasazi who populated the Four Corners area, which includes Chaco Canyon, Monument Valley, Mesa Verde, and Canyon de Chelly. So there's a lot of that. There is something about that area that I've heard from other people. It is a spiritual area. That whole Four Corners area, it rests above the Colorado Plateau, which is 130-mile spans of land. So it's a very special area of the country that you're in. And I think what you're right too, in terms of you're going to see more growth. I think what's happening right now, and that's one of the reasons that I'm doing these programs and putting together all this information on Santa Fe 101, is that we're seeing a shift now of people wanting to move to places like New Mexico. And, you know, we are the 5th largest state landmass wise in the country.
Correct.
But we're one of the least densely populated.
Yes.
It works out to like 17 people per square mile or something. So I think what we're seeing now is that so many more people, because of the COVID pandemic and because of climate change, people are allowing their employers are allowing their people to work remotely. And then other people are just figuring out that, you know, I want to have a better quality of life. And so they're looking not just at New Mexico, they're looking at some of the other Western states, but I think New Mexico has a lot to offer culturally and historically, you know, above the other ones. Of course, I'm partial to that, but
I do.
and so any other trends? So you talk a lot about, and so again, I don't know your area. You talked about the oil and gas and fracking. I mean, from a physical, I mean, do you see those refineries? Or I mean, is it really pretty up where you're living, or do you see these things pumping gas?
Yeah, there are well sites all over the area, and they're very visible. Some of them are in residential areas, you know, because the drilling rights were there and they secured them years ago, and they have a right to drill. You see them in town, you see them out of town along the highways. They're quite prevalent in the area. And the refinery in Bloomfield is just south of Bloomfield, and it kind of sits off of 550. It's a large, it is a large refinery, a large site, but it's, so yeah, you're going to see some of that. You're going to see, and it's not as attractive as row after row of Adobe homes, but it's what has sustained us, the economy up here for many, many years.
And some people, that's fine. I mean, some people, that's fine. You know, they're perfectly fine with it, but it's just good to kind of point that out. We're running out of time now. Is there anything that you want to mention as a realtor in the, you know, in the Farmington area before we end this program?
Well, as I say, I would like to emphasize that it is truly a wonderful place to live. Many, many, many amenities. And I, as a realtor, having been in the business for almost few days shy of 17 years, would love the opportunity to work with anyone who would desire to explore our area and the possibility of living here. I think I'm like you. I'm prejudiced, but I think this area is wonderful.
It's a special, indeed, it is a special, it's a spiritual area of the country. I want to thank you, and I'm going to post all of your contact details on the site as well. And so hopefully you're going to get some people calling you up.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.